Namaste everyone. I'm Omkar Kulkarni, and I'll welcome you all to our Holy Cow event hosted by NU Hindu Yuva. It's a new chapter started at Northeastern University in Boston last month. Hindu Yuva is a student-run organization that is present across 30 universities across the country that tries to spread awareness about Hindu culture on the campus. So today we have Abhinavji with us from VedicTree. So a little introduction about Abhinavji. Abhinav Goswami is an internationally experienced data scientist with over 20 years of experience as statistical data analysis expert for various industries such as pharmaceutical, finance, and investment banking and technology. He started his career as a biostatistician at Rambaxi Research Labs and later moved to GE Capital and Franklin Templeton in India. Over 10 years of expertise in analytics opened the doors for international exposure to work with companies like Royal Bank of Scotland as Vice President Credit Risk in Stamford, Connecticut, and data scientist at Apple in Cupertino, California. After his return from USA in 2017, he founded VedicTree Foundation, an NGO dedicated for saving cows, motivating farmers for organic farming, and setting up institutes of social importance like cow breeding centers, elementary schools, and hospitals. Then he started VedicTree in US in 2019. So Abhinavji, namaste and welcome. I'll just jump right into the questions. Um,
Sure.
what is Vedic Tree? Can you tell us a little bit more about the organization and what it does?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you. Namaste, everyone. This is really great to be with the youths because they decide where the society would go. And that was the same question when I was probably at the peak of my career. And then a thought came in that all this experience, knowledge, learning, whatever I have so far with over 20 years of experience in corporate, how do I take this as a seed and transform into a journey for next generation. So, as you briefly mentioned, I was born in a village, did my education in statistics, worked for many years. So, back like 4 years back, there was a thought: what is the purpose of life, and what made all this journey from the village to Apple as data scientist, and how can I take this experience and learning to rest of the kids in the villages who don't have um, this kind of background, knowledge, experience, and they want to have a role model. So idea emerged like, I really think the culture, the value system, the society where I grew up, the teachers who shaped me. And if we go by Shastras, there are three kind of debts each one of us carries. They call it Matruren, Pitruren, uh, and Rishiren, because these are the three people who makes everybody's life. Matra and Pitran is basically, taking care of them. And if I don't think there is words to define it or there are ways to get out of that. But Rishiran is something, whatever you have learned, whatever you learned from anybody, you got a skill or what, you need to give it back to the community as a teacher, as a supporter, as a motivator. So back in 2016, this thought was emerging. What should I do? What should be the life after retirement or before I'm in the journey of, from 40 year to 70 year, 40 year to 60 year. And I looked into various people, what their life was after retirement. And I could realize that these people were well settled. They were very well established. They were very successful people with families, kids, and all that. And I was on the same path. But post-retirement life was not something I wanted to live that way. Because when I saw these people, uh, you would see like a beautiful house and big, rich neighborhood, a lot of money, but they don't have people around them. A lot of people told me that they struggle to bring their kids back at festivals and all that. So I wanted to see what is wrong they did in their life, or can I avoid that. And one thing I realized that, when I retire at 70, I don't want to live in this beautiful house. Maybe I want to sit under the tree on a charpai with 10, 15 kids running around. So that gave a thought of, an organization which actually invest into future generations, invest into their education, their health, their food. And that whole investment comes from nature. I didn't want anybody's investment money so that I'm on hook for their ROI, their investment return. So this idea of VedicTree emerged back in 2016 and 2017 March. I moved from my, I moved from the area, San Ramon, California, to my village in Aligarh, UK. So what is VedicTree? Is a organization, is a concept. If you understand tree is, how would you define a tree? I mean, root is a tree, the stem is a tree, leaf is a tree, fruit and flowers, the shade which this tree gives is also a tree. So a tree is a very complicated structure which is around all of us. And it helps a lot of people, it helps the whole society. And that's where the concept was that this organization should be supporting the society. It should create educational opportunities, learning skills. Um, it should, help the cows, because cows are very important part of the community. And I grew up with cows when I was, in the village doing my 10th and 12th standard. Up to that time, I was actually grazing cows. So I know how important they are. And there were some uh, thoughts which emerged as working in corporate. People, when you talk to them that where do you live, and they would talk, oh, I live countryside. And these were the people who were 2-3 level up seniors to me. And then I'm thinking, if you guys live on countryside, which you basically say that there's no pollution, there is no contamination, all organic. And I'm thinking that I was already in a countryside back in my childhood. I was already growing without any chemical pesticide because we had about 20 cows in our home, and we never used any urea, DAP, and modern chemicals. Uh, but then this whole education actually brought me away from all that ecosystem. And now I'm struggling to get my food right, my thought right, ecosystem where I feel like I'm connected. So there are multiple threads to this VedicTree idea, but today it's a non-profit in India as well as in US. And our whole focus is create cow-based ecosystems. And I'll talk more as we make progress. But for now, for everybody's understanding, imagine any Vedic value, we would work to bring that value in modern context, whether it's music, whether it's education, Vedic math, science, agriculture. And if you go back the economy itself, the Vedic economy, there were 3 pillars of the Vedic economy: Krishi, Vanij, and Shilp. So Krishi is whole production system, agricultural practices. Vanij was the whole business idea. And then Shilp is the skills. So VedicTree would work on all these 3 aspects, and they are integrated with each other. So we'll talk as we go more.
Yeah, that's amazing. So moving forward, what was the idea behind bringing VedicTree to USA, like bringing the Gaushala to USA specifically?
So since I started back in 2017 in India, that center right now has a facility for 200 cows. It has, at present, there are 80 cows of Sahiwal breed, which is one of the prominent breed of India in Desi cows, which normally called as Bos indicus in scientific community. And I think most of you are aware that the cows which have hump on their back are called Desi cows. The rest of the cows don't have hump, and they are mostly European or American breeds, Holstein, Jersey, and all that. There's whole revolution, even A2 milk. So distinguishing the cow and preserving is one of the key aspects. And we set up that center We collect cow dung urine that goes to a very big biodigester, which produces methane. And that methane we use to produce electricity. Right now in my village, we are producing 30 kilowatt, 3-phase 440 volt. So you engineers understand, what is this level of power, which actually with that power, you can run a lot of bigger systems and maybe industry itself. And that's what we are doing. So our energy is coming from cow. The bioslurry which comes from this biodigester goes to a biofertilizer unit, and it produces a very rich, nutritional rich biofertilizer for soil. And that we use to produce all the fruits, grain, vegetables, cow fodder on the farm. We have 25-acre farm there. And so if you actually see this system, when you get the fodder from the field, which has been fertilized by the cow fertilizer, cow takes that feed, it doesn't have any chemical. And that one actually, when cow eats it, it basically gives me milk and cow dung and urine. And that goes to the biodigester. So basically output from one source is input to next. So there is nothing waste in this system. Like it's a self-sustaining ecosystem. And as a result of it, the output which I'm getting is basically, there is no money I have to spend on that. So for example, I have used maybe more than 10,000 units so far, but cow has never sent me a bill that, hey, you use that many units, pay us the bill. I'm not responsible to pay ROI to any other investor. It's a one-time investment, but it's an ongoing system, automatically takes care of it. For fertilizer, I have not gotten any requirement from cows that you use so much fertilizer, give us the payment. So you see, as a result, actually, I'm getting good quality A1, A2 quality milk, which you should read about A1 versus A2 milk, which is a big market in US and across the globe. Our desi cows give A2 milk, basically. And other breeds, most of them, European American breeds, they provide A1 milk. And these are basically genetical differences in the milk protein itself. So once I was, the center was at a break-even point and it's running its own operations, we created employment in the village. The idea of second center was already emerging, but question was whether we should do it in India or we should do elsewhere. Because when I quit Apple, the thought was we'll set up at least 108 such centers if it's successful. So that whole idea of setting up 108 centers was already there when I started the journey. But question was, where should we go? And I did not know that COVID will come in 2020. So 19 was a normal year for me. I did a trip from Bay Area to Florida, road trip with the chairman of Rashtriya Kamadhenu Ayog that was set up by PM Modi ji to take care of the cows. So that's called the National Cow Commission. So we were there on the road trip and we talked to the people, how they see cows and is there like how they can support as an NRI community for the cow-based ecosystem. And one thing was clear that people were supportive of this idea and people wanted to touch and feel such ecosystem. And that's where, in 2019, September, Modi's were in Houston. So we also were there and we did a lot of meetings with people. And that's where I thought like one center should be in US. I was not sure whether it will be in Houston or Florida or California. So I went back to my village from that trip, and in about like 2 months, I started thinking. And since I could not got a direct ticket to Orlando, because that was the place I wanted to set up, I chose to come to Houston and wait for some time and see the market here, see the land and all that, and connect with the community, and then move to Florida. So I took a temporary apartment in Houston for 3 months, but then so we came in November, end of November 2019. In 3 months, I talked to some people that what about this idea setting up Gaushala here. But then by February, the COVID came and we were kind of stuck. We could not go to Florida. And then in March last year, I started looking land here. July, we got this land where we are right now. It's a 4-acre land. And that's how this idea of Texas Gaushala came in, which is again like a replicative setup. If we can make this center as a self-sustainable, where we not only create employment, we create good quality food, we create good ecosystem for people to come and feel positive, we could replicate similar centers in US as well. And that would count towards 108 such centers, which we are planning to build up. And I'll talk more about what these centers would contain, but I think this is how Texas Gaushala started. It's probably as a result of COVID restrictions in Houston.
Yeah, COVID is a big challenge right now.
Yeah.
Other than that, what were the other challenges that you faced during bringing the Goshala to the US?
Well, compared to India, I think things are totally different here. A lot of things require permit, licenses, and the skills and all that. So since I had experience raising cows since childhood and then recent experience in India, raising cow was not difficult, but actually bringing cow to a place where you can do it legally is typically a bit difficult. But Texas being the cattle country, there are lands which are classified as unrestricted land in the whole country actually. So I was looking a land which is big enough in my reach, which I can buy, and also it's unrestricted. Luckily, I found one lot. This was a house listed. It's in Cypress, Texas. It's a suburb of Houston, about 30 minutes from downtown Houston. And we started negotiations on this land because there's a house I wanted to live on the property itself. So we got it. It's a good school district, so good for the kids as well. My kids did middle schooling from India, so they typically, speak Bridge Bhasha. They have been connected with the culture. So now they are not in this dilemma or confusion that, why we are Hindu and how should we talk about and all that. They can answer pretty well because they have really touched the culture. And now we moved here in July. July we closed it. We moved here in August and mid-August. And then Ganesh Chaturthi, we brought first set of cows. 3 cows we brought. And now we have 12 cows on this property. So you asked about the challenges. Actually, bringing cow was one challenge. Like finding the right breed, the pure genetics was one of the things. So we did a lot of traveling during COVID to find these cows and talk to the people. Other challenges, these cows are very expensive. I mean, typically it goes, if a pure genetics, roughly $7,000-8,000 to like 20,000. And if you see historical, they have sold, like there was a one bull they have sold for $495,000.
Oh,
But that bull was right. So it's a lot of money making business for some of the ranchers. But I see their challenge, like they are not seeing young generation coming into this business. The genetic improvement of the cattle or rearing them, taking them. So that's a bigger challenge, which I cannot alone solve it, but I will look forward for some youths who want to take it as a entrepreneurial journey and work into this direction. Other challenges, the milk you get here does come from other cows without hump. So it would be very interesting and very demanding also to community from India, like the people who are NRIs, to have a desi cow milk. I mean, it's a whole market is waiting for that milk and milk products. So it's an opportunity for people to look into it. But for me, there are other challenge would be getting the proper, support for the cows. Right now, my family take care of these cows, but pretty soon we need someone who understand this work and can take care of the cows, especially, when we are occupied.
right, right. So I want to move to a different section of our questions. So why are cows considered so important in Hindu culture?
So if you define the culture, the 4 pillar of our culture is we call dharma, artha, kam, moksha. And I mean, there are not appropriate words in English to define these, but dharma understand more like a right duty, and irrespective of, whether you are Hindu or Muslim or any kind of, but right duty, which is what Bhagavad Gita called karmanye vadikaraste. So dharma, then earth is whole economy, the ecosystem, and kam is kamana, desires, and then moksha is liberation. So this is how our sages have defined this platform, that you should be on dharma all the time. You should earn artha, but it should be bounded by dharma. So that you should not earn money by adharma. And then if you do this, all your kamana, manokamana, iksha, right? They will be fulfilled. Your desires will be fulfilled. And once your desires are fulfilled, you get liberated automatically, because your bandhan is your man itself, the thought process. So once your thought process is settled, you actually qualifies to become moksha. Now, why cow is important? You need to see it. Any dharma karya, any work cannot be done without cows. If you do simple havan, you do, wedding or whatever, cow is required in all aspects of dharma. Earth is basically the whole economy I'm talking, and I can explain why earth is important, which is driven by the cow. I mean, some examples I gave you, that my food, my milk, my dairy is actually done by the cows. So it gives me money, it gives me revenue. My energy comes from cows. And if I transfer it into rupees or dollar values, you can imagine what I have to pay per unit if I use the electricity from the electricity system. Whereas for me, it's coming from cows. So that's the indirect way of money. After that, well, let me talk about the economy itself. The dairy system, food is a money. Then your energy, fuel itself, biogas as a fuel to cook or all that, that's coming from cows. Cows not asking for money, but you are actually not paying money for that service. Then the electricity, then comes biofertilizer, pesticide, then comes your healthcare. We are actually working a lot of formulations based on cows, where we will give healthcare treatments, and some formulations already out in the market. And then comes the eco products like pots or cow dung based stuff. And at the end of it comes the whole tourist aspect of, people feel positive when they are surrounded by cows. So these ecosystem could generate a lot of revenue and could become independent businesses for people who are interested in taking it as a career. Then comes the kam mana, desires, manokamana. And one of the name of cow is Kamadhenu, means it's an ocean of fulfilling your desire. There are stories in our Quran where they say you say something in cow's ear and your desire will get fulfilled. I mean, some of my experiences living with cows is like, I'm thinking about something that this work needs to be done, and maybe by the end of the day, or someone would show up and say, sir, I do this work, can you give me some work here? And then I realized that, whenever I'm among the cows and I'm basically thinking about it, that thought is going to be distributed to maybe certain souls which are coming connected and doing the things. So you could imagine cow as like a hotspot multiplier or something in a Wi-Fi context, right? So you like a router, I would say. So you desire something in a Gaushala and say, I need this, and you see that thing happening, then you have to believe it. I don't understand ABCD of Wi-Fi, but I still believe that Wi-Fi works. When I need some information, if I have a Wi-Fi, if I have access to it, I can get it done. So cow is very important for these kamna, for these desires, iksha. And then moksha is actually very interesting in Garud Puran, where they talk about the whole literature about how our soul travels after we're dead. There is a situation, there's a place which comes in this journey of the soul where it crosses a river. That river is probably a virtual river to me, or some river that they call it Vedictory river. And that if the soul can cross that Vedictory river, then it attains moksha. If not, then it will come back to another life and birth cycle. So then they write that that river can be crossed only if a cow appears there, and you hold the tail of that cow and cross it. Now cow will appear only if you have done a service to cow, like you have come and basically feed them or done something significantly. So these are stories, these are written in Quran and all that, but we need to transform that into how we connect with this ecosystem. And that's why I think for Hindus it's very important. Cow is very important, and not just because it's Hindu taxes. I'm saying it's because for environment it's important. It's for the soil health is important. For your food is important. I mean, the amount of chemical which we are being exposed through food, through milk, through antibiotics and all that. I want to have my clean food, and cow can help it. I want to have my energy clean. People talk about neat energy, clean energy, green energy, this, that, carbon credits. I mean, cow is actually producing it. So why don't we go that way? You talk about, environmental health. Cow is the one which is making it pure. So there are various practical aspects in modern context, I would say, when cow is important, not only for Hindus, but for rest of the world as well. And sooner they understand, better it is for them, for the environment, for the earth, because a live cow is more valuable than the cow slaughtered and packed into freezers.
Right. Yeah, cows are surely sacred in Hindu culture, and we celebrate our festivals with cows in it. So,
Yes.
for the viewers, what are some of the festivals that we celebrate where we worship cows?
Well, I think there are so many festivals. You go from north to south, east to west. I meet a lot of people from each state and each culture, and they come up with the different stories. So I'm from North India, near Delhi, and in that area, especially the Braj, Vrindavan, Mathura, that area, that's called Gokul in Krishna's time. And their cows are worshipped throughout the year. Gopastami is one of the main festivals just dedicated for cows, where we worship these cows. Prior to that comes Govardhan Puja, where it's like a farmer worshipping their cattle, mostly cows, and this is what we have done since childhood. You come a little bit down, Bundelkhand or Madhya Pradesh, they have their own festivals around cows. Bihar has their own. In Maharashtra, I have heard Vasubaras, which is basically worshipping a calf on that day, which comes, I think, few days before Deepavali. And then you go to Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, everywhere. This Pongal is a cow worshipping festival in Tamil Nadu, and especially in southern India, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. And Andhra people worship cow a lot. They come here, I see them very frequently. And actually, Ekadashi and all that, these are very important for cow-related activities. So these festivals, that's how our sages have designed a system, a fabric, through which you are connected with each component, which makes impact in our life.
Yeah. So moving on to the next section of the questions, I wanted to get your views on unethical cattle herding in US and the effect on environment.
It's a bit controversial. I would say what you call unethical, I think for people who are doing it, that's the only ethics they know. And I think they're doing it because it's a survival question or it's a business question. People want to make money. And so what difference we can bring as a society, as a community, that we bring a better value system which doesn't hurt their survival or their business, but still they make money. without slaughtering the cow. So that's one aspect of it, slaughterhouses. And that's a bigger problem in India also and across the world. And you can change this habit suddenly or openly. It takes time. And that is mostly on a physical individual level. So what you eat is basically a demand by the body. Right. So if we can work on this demand itself, that there's no demand itself, there would be no need to supply it. And you cannot supply if there is no demand. So it is basically a form of transitioning your body itself from tamasic to rajasic to sattvic characteristics. So cow is the highest level of sattvic energy, and slaughtering is the highest level of tamasic energy. So how do you combine these? These are two extremes, like a positive and negative. So if human can understand that I need to work on my own habit, your habit will change when you start thinking. When your thought will change when you start coming close to the cow. And then suddenly, I think this transition will happen. Other torture which happens, especially I've seen they pull out their horns, which is very torture thing. I mean, a lot of videos on YouTube and other boys also, they literally pull with scissors. And they have their own logic about like, oh, cow can hurt someone, they can hurt other cows and all that. But probably this is those people's fear of, they getting hurt. I think that can be handled. In India, this practice has not ever happened. Even today, I don't think in India there are people who would pull the horns. Basically, the whole energy of cow, the beauty of the cow comes from horns. So I think it will be a lot of educational aspect of it, and those who are worried about this unethical treatment, I think they have to come forward and create educational program, training programs, maybe build up a relationship in a better way with the cows than just being more like a fear of uncertainty way of dealing with it. Yeah. So it's a bigger challenge. I mean, I see it every day. I don't like it, but right. You have to live with it.
Yeah, education is the key.
Yes.
Once people start getting
right.
To learn more about it, they'll definitely understand. So we talked about importance of cows in human life.
Yeah.
Why do we need sustainable ways of cattling, and how YUVAs can contribute towards that?
So sustainable way is basically, you need to define this. Starts with yourself, with myself. So when I jumped into it, basically my question was, what I'm eating from all these stores is not good. Is basically, if you compare the pricing, big stores like organic stores, say Sprouts or Whole Foods and all that, and then you go to like a big chains, Walmart, Target and all that, same product, see the price difference. And they are at the same real estate. So real estate wise, that cannot make the huge difference. One bunch of spinach, maybe you can get for 50 cents at Walmart, Target, or even less. Same bunch in other stores would be at least $4, $3, right? So this 10, 15 time difference, I'm trying to understand that. And this is like 4 years back. Like what this person is doing differently, the guy who's growing versus the guy who's supplying here. That was one trigger. Also, I did make some trips to these farmers who are supplying to, say, these stores, say, Whole Foods and Sprouts, and talk to them like, what do you do? And when you understand, basically they say, we don't do anything. We don't use chemical. We don't use pesticide. We just let the nature grow itself. And they use some nature-based products. So, and that, if you see, like, then why is there a difference? If you don't do anything, then why your product is so expensive? Because one, there is a demand for it. Two, it takes effort to grow it, because chemicals are so cheap and they are damaging the health, they're damaging the environment, but they are cheap. On the other hand, creating a natural growing ecosystem is very difficult. And that's why things are expensive. So for youth, I would say this is a business opportunity. This is an opportunity not only for you to sustain your life, but for next generation. You leave a positive impact on the environment. What if we get more growers who grow much better food at a half of the price compared to today? And that way, you not only help yourself, your family, your sustainability, but sustainability of a bigger community. So youth has to come forward for it. If you are an engineer, you need to find better ways to use bull energy. If you are, electronics, electrical, and all that, find better ways to convert this biogas into energy. I mean, we are producing energy, but can we improve it? Can we have much better combustion engines? If you are a mechanical engineer, automobile engineer, why can't we have motorcycles run by methane? Uh, why can't we use methane for running planes? I mean, it is same energy. So, but that comes from the cows, right? So you have many cows, and India has full of cows, a lot of cattle in the country. We are not using that energy. Um, I mean, we are involved with another similar social initiative called Smart Gaon, and these people have used technology to connect with villagers. And now we're working, how do I make a farmer sustainable with their cattle, with their cows? We are working on a project where we will buy the cow dung at a decent rate from each villager who want to participate. Give them enough money so they can raise their cows. They don't leave their cows on the streets. And we will use it to generate not only biogas energy, but to create a high quality fertilizer. India alone actually takes like, I would say 400 metric ton worth of just mineral fertilizer from other countries. Whereas cow dung actually has all those minerals. There are actually 16 minerals in cow dung. And see, that mineral comes directly from the cow dung, which comes from the grass it's eating. So it's a factory. This raw material is the cow feed or the grass, and then output is mineral rich fertilizer. This is a very simple factory, but very complicated in same way. So youth could use their education, their learning, their experiences, and get some training to take it as a challenge, take it as a next business. I don't think in US anybody is producing cow-based fertilizer. If you come into this business, trust me, there are many people who would be willing to invest in it and would be willing to, farmers would be willing to take it, because farmers, I have to talk to farmers in India as well as in US. It's very difficult for them to, deal with these rising prices of seeds and depleting quality of soil. The soil is dead actually. It cannot grow without chemicals. So excessive use of chemical has created barren lands. How would you fix it? Cow dung will fix it basically. So if some of you are interested in, say, agriculture in US, a lot of universities are starting a regenerative agricultural courses or diplomas or certificates. And I would encourage those who are interested, actually talk to those professors in regenerative agriculture and see if you can connect with that aspect, which probably one day will become a revolution. I mean, organic is already in high demand across the world. So for youth, there are various aspects. If you are a microbiologist, I mean, cow urine itself has been talked a lot in Ayurveda. Cow milk can be converted into antibiotics, safest antibiotic. And then there are a few other things I can't disclose right now, but we are working to convert this cow dung into very high yielding, minerals, which comes directly from them, which are rare to find even in modern world. So people have told me there is a silicon in it. People have told that we can build up uranium from cow dung. So these are all things which we have to develop from it. Like if you go in Sanskrit text and you start decoding it, then you see it. And let me tell you, when I read this sloka, which says, Gaumaya Vaste Lakshmi, there's just a 1/4 of a sloka, but it literally says that Lakshmi resides in Gaumaya. Gaumaya is cow dung. So Lakshmi, the wealth, resides in cow dung. And there's plenty of cow dung here. I mean, I don't see any dollar sitting there. But when you transform this sloka into real practical way, it actually converts into dollar. The energy it creates, the food it creates, the ecosystem it creates your soil healthy. This is all money which you are getting indirectly. So for youth, I think cow is an opportunity to take it as a as a business, as a social cause. If you are a healthcare professional, cow could be the best therapy provider for various mental health. I mean, search for the term called cow cuddling. There are various centers in US. They charge almost like $100 an hour just to sit next to the cow.
Yeah.
You will see many pictures of cow cuddling. So uh, we have to be aware what's happening silently across us.
Yeah. Usually Hindus are mocked for using cow byproducts like cow dung and urine, and there are so many
Yeah.
benefits that you talked about. Yeah.
Cow dung, using cow dung as a floor and all that. I mean, I can show you. We are using it here, doing havan, cow dung cakes, and those are basic stuff. But I'm saying let's go in a high tech as well. So these are the products needs to be researched and developed. And
I've
one of
seen.
the
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, one of the focus for us at VedicTree is basically bring that R&D to the society, which I have just talked about. So one of our initiatives is to set up these R&D centers where we can bring healthcare products or agricultural products. In fact, at our project in Aligarh, we have recently started a biofertilizers facility in collaboration with the Russian technology, which will produce various minerals from the cow dung.
So now, Abhinavji will move to the audience questions.
Okay.
We already have some questions here. How do cows sustainably fit into a system of agriculture largely dominated by tractors?
Dominated by?
Tractors.
I didn't get the last word.
The tractors. We use tractors to plow the farm.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah. So that's a challenge. I think there was a generation of people who decided to go towards tractor, and now they are struggling. Basically, from pure investment point of view, is the worst investment a farmer is doing, especially those who have very small farms. So tractor, like in Indian context, it is about 10 lakh rupees investment, and the ROI is negative on it because it loses value and you're not using it 100%. So tractors should have been out of the fields, especially the smaller fields, though they could use for other heavy stuff work. So and I would blame a little bit to the engineers also, the youths who kind of completely neglected the technology for field. So we had many IITs, we have many engineering institutes. And I remember in my childhood, there was a plow which 2 bulls would pull it, right? And then the tractor came with 11 plows. So why didn't the engineers discovered a plow which can be pulled by, let's say, I don't know, 8 bulls? And these 8 bull will have, say, 16 plow. So you compete with tractor with the bull power. So there's a competition with horsepower versus bull power. Bull is always powerful than the horse. But horse took limelight because in Western world, horses were there and they could run faster. But in India, bull has always been worshipped, culturally. Nandi is bull, which Shiva's vehicle, which means if anybody can hold Shiva, that's Nandi, correct? So this has more power. And for agriculture, we need more power, not running speed, but the plowing power. So IITs or mechanical engineers or these people should have discovered these tools for small farmers which can compete with tractors. Now, I think I'm still of the opinion that we'll find some youth, we'll find some young engineers who will work on it. You know, you've got solar panels, you've got bulls, you've got all the technology, gearing and everything, and robotics. Why can't we design certain things like that where bull can be used into it? Uh, Bull can be used for the mechanical energy to electrical energy.
Yeah.
Right. So this is just a concept. I don't know, you know, if some youth is listening to it. Imagine you have a system where you have one bull which is taking round, and this is creating some you know, torque, and we have, let's say, 50 ton of weight, and we lift this weight to, I don't know, say 100 feet. We design it such a way, right?
Yeah.
So this bull is running around in a normal speed, and it's lifting this slowly. So it runs for 2 hours, and in 2 hours it lifts that whole thing at, let's say, 100 feet. Now you design a gear system in a reverse way, because it will automatically fall by gravity. Can we convert that thing into a speed which can generate electricity? So whole village can have 2-3 of these, where you get your electricity just by 3-4 bulls, and you just feed them. Today you are paying bill to some company, right?
Yeah.
Why can't you pay, you know, give feed to the bull, and it could become a business itself. So this is a crazy idea, but I mean, it could be a practical thing. And if no one takes it, I'm already thinking about it, and I'm also talking to people. How do I convert this bull energy into our own electricity? And other concept would be, you know, because bull has become irrelevant in modern context, and to some extent it has been cultural clash in the country. They are knowingly, they are, you know, killing that culture which respects these things. So tractor definitely a challenge, but I am saying we are a younger generation of farmers, and we need to define how agriculture would be done. I mean, the amount of pollution anybody is creating with tractor burning that fuel, um, I would say, why don't you design a tractor which runs on cow dung based methane? At
Yeah.
least you don't create that much damage to the environment. So,
There is a big opportunity.
oh, it is absolutely. I mean, uh, for those who can do a business model, 1 kg of cow dung produces 20 gram of biogas, right? Now, imagine if there is a village of 1,000 people, and let's say even 50% people in that village contains, say, 2 cows, so 2 cattle. So you've got 2,000 cattle, which means on an average you are getting 10 kg per day cow dung. So 2,000 into 10, 20,000 kg. Then you multiply this by per kg 20 gram, you will get about, say, I think 400 kilo biogas. 400
Yeah.
kilo biogas is roughly, you get one cylinder of 14 kg, 15 kg, right?
Yeah.
So that means about 30 cylinder every day. So if that village is producing 30 cylinder every day, in a month you are producing 1,000 cylinder, correct?
Yeah.
So each village can have its own cylinder almost free by using the cow dung, which they are just wasting today, throwing in the in the street. You see, so we need youth to think about it, and youth to act on it, and say, hey, I am setting up my own my own gas company, let's say.
Yeah.
Like today in India, you take Indian gas, Hindustan Petroleum Gas, and the third one, HP
Yes. Yes.
Indian, and third one. So why can't there would be a fourth gas company which is done locally, sold locally? You don't have to run a transportation system because it's being produced manually, locally. You don't have to worry about the other challenges which comes in the transportation, shipping, packaging, and all that. So you see, this is an opportunity for future. India, or for anybody in the world, wherever you are. I'm not just saying like it's applicable in India. Even if you have cows in US, the same cow will give you the same biogas. So uh, that's opportunity for people. And then if you process that much of 20,000 kg of cow dung every day, you're basically creating at least 40,000 kilo of bio-waste. And that's not a bio-waste, that's a biofertilizer. You convert that into money, that becomes another, even if you sell at like 10 rupees a kg, it becomes a money. So, so youth has to look into these opportunities and go for it.
Yeah, coming up the technology will help the community and also save on fossil fuels that we're wasting. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you create an alternative, people will go for it, right?
Yep.
So we need to be innovative. We need to create alternatives and then talk about it. People will listen to it.
Moving on to the next question. Any experiment with cow-based products as treatment for illness, like Panchagavya?
Yeah, there's a lot talk has happened. There's literature, Ayurvedic literature, which talks a lot about cow-based products. Panchagavya, even cow milk itself is a healing power. Cow ghee has a lot of healing power. Cow urine people take, and unfortunately, cow urine is not available in a consumable form. So if it's not fresh, it's not recommended to take because it creates contamination once it's there, open to the atmosphere. But it could be used as a medicine. We are actually working on certain formulations. We have already brought one for various treatments. There's US patent on on botanical therapeutics, where we create some inflammation disease treatment based on the cow-based fertilizer grown herbs. So somehow it improves the potency of that herbal plant. So these are various things which we are working, and many other people are working in India. So, and I think a year down the line, I'll have much better discussion on this, because by that time we would have done clinical research, trials and all that. For example, one of our scientists has developed antibiotic from cow urine. So not cow urine, cow milk, from the cow milk. And that is like if somebody has a UTI, urinary tract infection, it cures that infection within 3 hours, and the burning in urine will disappear. And if that person takes it, and it's antibiotic is not like you put in your body, you just drink it. It's like a 100 ml liquid, you drink it maybe 15 days, and the patient will not have this burning ever in the life. So these are some of the things which we are working already. We have done the research, and eventually we'll set up these healthcare facilities where these treatments would be available. So, and yeah.
Moving on, are there any plans to expand Gaushala to different US states in future?
Oh yes, I get this question frequently asked from people, friends, visitors. A lot of people are interested, but we need a dedicated team. We need people who want to support it. If we can get say 100 200 people supporting this idea, I would be happy to start that initiative anywhere in the US or Canada, and other parts of the world also. I mean, I'm not just limited to here, but all I need first 200 people. Like in US context, if they say, okay, I'll pay you $100 a month for next 3 years, and 200 people commit this one, I think we can start right away. Because to start this system, you need initial capital. So I have invested all my initial capital, and I have set up 2 centers. The third center has to come from the community if they consider this as an important aspect for the community.
Yeah. And lastly, can you show us some cows in the Gaushala currently?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Why not? So let me take this device there. So you see, this is where I live. This place called Cypress, Texas. It's in northwest side of Houston. And let me switch it to back side. So here I am in the Gaushala, and you can see there was a lot of rain 2 days before, but you can see these 12 cows over here.
Mhm.
We are, what you see on the right side, these cows, that area would be our organic garden, and rest of this field would be grazing for them. But we have a lot of, feed for them in these bins you see in the backside. And they also eat this grass, which they are sitting right now on because they don't want to eat. So we put that grass also. We buy that food. And then whenever they are, they want to walk, they go backside and graze it. But what you see in the beginning, that's Nandini, then Chintamani, behind that Asha, Kamala. So each cow has its own name.
Yeah.
And there is a
Yeah, it's
pond
beautiful
behind
out there.
this property. Uh, and this is the house. I live in here. So, and this neighborhood has, most of the people who have farm, who have different animals, like our neighbor has these chickens, and then another neighbor has horses. And this is here,
Nice.
we do all our Dev Karya, Havan, Yagya, and you see this cow dung based floor.
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah. So this is how, the center is. And we could create similar centers across US, wherever there is a demand, wherever there is an energy. If youth wants to come forward and start these, I would be happy to support in whatever way.
I'm sure a lot of people will come forward to
Yes.
contribute towards this. Abhinavji, any before we end this session, any concluding remarks, motivation for viewers?
First of all, thank you so much for initiating this conversation. Uh, Conversation should continue, and conversation is always good, and that's what we are. We are from a country called Bharat, and if you literally see Bharat, Bharat means Bhase Rati Iti Bharat. Bha means Gyan, the country, the culture, the people who are always busy in discovering knowledge, right? ज्ञान में जो लगा हुआ country है, that's called Bharat.
Yeah.
So this is in our DNA. We are always curious. We are always trying to do different. We always want to challenge the status quo, and we want to change it and fix it, right? And that's how we have been. Even mostly, in most of the discoveries which you see has come from the people who have some connection with India, or mostly Indians, be it email, be it all these things, right? So I think this youth has a lot of responsibility. They have to come forward and think like a businessman. As I told, in a Vedic way of living is you focus on three aspects: Krishi, Vanij, and Shilps. Krishi is all your food growing, processing, everything included. These are all businesses, not only growing, processing, and all that, right? Vanij is business, means each house back in 200 years back, India was the largest economy of the world, by the way. You know,
Hmm.
just 200 years back, 1830s or so. And why we were such a largest economy? Because we were a cow-based economy.
Mhm.
We were not paying money for any service. Today we are paying money for everything, and that's why we are trying to become fourth largest, fifth largest, and all that. I'm saying if we go back to our roots, we go back to what our ancestors were, we would again be a largest economy. So youth has to see this as opportunity to be a self-sustainable person, create businesses from this. And then third one is Shelp, Krishi Vaniji Shelp. Shelp is skill-based. We need to develop skills, and then only you become successful.
Yes.
Today's youth, I think what I have lived the life of that youth was, hey, somehow after my education, somehow I get a job, a desk job, which is 2x2 chair and desk, correct?
Yeah.
And then from that 2x2, somehow I get to 3x3 cabin, then 4x4. And then once I become 6x6 cabin with glass and all that, I'll be successful, man. And this never ends. What I
Yeah.
realized, it never ends. And then I said, no, this is not what I want. If that's the success, then I want like a 4-acre cabin. I can go wherever, I can touch the cow, feel the cow. That's the real cabin for me. And that's what I've done. And I'm sitting, I'm also working. I can work sitting here, and COVID has taught us that, it's not necessary that you have to be in an office to do this modern so-called technology work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now it's time to think beyond what you have been educated so far, that getting a job is the only way to live in this world. No, it is not. Find out a way, try to find out a business, try to find out how you can be a job creator, not a job seeker. So one of the tagline I always say with VedicTree is, we want to create people who will be entrepreneurs. So transitioning a kid from job seeker to entrepreneur. This is what we want to create across these Gaushalas, where we'll have a Gurukul. Just want to add you that once I have 200 cows in our India plant, we'll generate about 4 crore rupees worth of revenue. Of that, 50%, 55% would be our operational expense. So 45% of 4 crore would be a lot of money to educate 300 kids without much burden on their parents. And we can give them all those best education skills. Imagine the 10 kids going every day to the kitchen, where the cook is not like a cook only, but he's a teacher, and he's teaching these kids how to cook food. And so at the end of 3 months, once they are trained, we can say, this boy cooks food for 20 people. This girl cooks laddu very tasty and all that. So there were 64 64 ways, skills, which each Gurukul was giving. And I'm talking just 200 years back. So if each kid is exposed to these skills, imagine what wonder they could do. They don't have to dependent on anything. They don't have to spend money for everything. They can create that thing by themselves. So we should be a creator, we should be innovator, we should be an entrepreneur. Job is just a step in between if one has to take.
Yeah.
And nothing wrong in it, because Sarira Madhyam Khalu Dharma Sadhanam means your first responsibility is that you survive. This body sustains, this body remains alive. So if you have to find a job to sustain, do it. But your thought should be always, how do I make this thought to a active business, to an entrepreneur's
picture.
Yeah,
it's about the big picture.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you have a beautiful office without the walls.
Yes, it is. I mean, you look at these beautiful trees here. I'm sitting. This whole nothing. This is the most natural office you can ever have, right? So, and this is not I built up. Somebody planted these trees. I'm just enjoying it. So I'm saying, you become that innovator, that designer, that person who designs for others. I mean, that person didn't know that I'll sit here under this tree and do this talk. But whosoever planted, I always, pay my respect to that person.
Yeah.
So
thank you, Abhinav ji, for showering us with facts and knowledge. It was really great. I learned a lot of things, and sure our audience also.
Thank you so much. If there's any question or you want more information, you could go to texasgaushala.com and connect through there. You'll find email or phone or whatever. And anybody who want to visit, you can come and visit. We will try to make some arrangements. Eventually, it will have a whole Vedic center where we'll have a library with all Vedic literature. We'll have a skill development center. We'll also have some classes where you could learn, and some huts where people can come and stay overnight, and a cafeteria where you could literally have a food in a village style, cooking on a wood and all that. So those are in plan. And I would look forward if any one of you want to volunteer remotely with the technology, with the automation, with robotics or whatever, website development or, whatever you do.
Yeah.
I would love to connect. And, it'll be beneficial for both of us.
Yes. I wish to visit your Gaushala
Absolutely.
soon. Yeah.
Anytime.
And thank you for our audience for watching this live on YouTube and Facebook. Please do follow us on all the social media platforms. We have the link in the description. And also check out the VedicTree website and be updated with our new future events. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
Namaste.
You can connect on Facebook also with facebook.com/Texas Gaushala. And our India project is at facebook.com, VedicTree Bharat. But again, thank you so much.